Hey, is that a new role-playing game from Surtech?
Yep, it's called Druid, Daemons of the Mind.
Is it the new wizardry game?
No, it's
Then it's got to be the latest Realms of Arcania chapter, right?
not even close. It's a graphics-intensive, 3D-rendered point-and-click game specifically designed for the new player.
You're sure this is from Surtech?
Well, yes and no. The game was actually designed by Synthetic Dimensions, but it bears the mark of the Surtech dragon on the package, all right.
And this is a real role-playing game?
Isn't it pretty? Look at those beautiful graphics.
You didn't answer my question.
Well, it's not that simple to answer. Druid has a lot of the aspects of role-playing games, but also has some glaring omissions and weird design stuff going on.
Well, do you roll up a party to take on the adventure?
Nope, you always have the same guy.
Hey, nice pecs.
Aren't they impressive? Surtech seems to think that having only one possible player character in the game is something to brag about. Among the features on the box, they list ready-made single-character party.
So, is there a story in this game, or is it just getting thrown into the middle of a lot of monsters and having to fight your way out?
Oh, there's a story, all right, and it's a good one. You play the grandson of a druid who is whisked away from his home in his sleep. He finds himself in a strange dimension ruled by 4 druids. One of the big guys has disappeared, so the remaining 3 have sent for you to investigate.
So you're a private eye? That's a bit odd. Did these druids just pull someone at random to do the job?
No, your lineage makes you a good choice, but since you're not a full druid, you don't threaten the established power structure.
So are you dependent on brute force to make your way around without getting killed?
Of course not. Say, don't you know anything at all about druids?
Sure, they built Stonehenge, right?
Oh boy. Listen, druidic magic is based on the 4 elements.
And those would be gold, zinc, helium, and saffron?
Try fire, water, wind, and stone, doofus.
Too bad. I'm just wild about saffron.
I'll pretend you didn't say that. You learn spells that combine these elements, and you put them together using your nifty amulet. There are offensive spells like fireballs and poison gases, and healing spells, and other neat stuff.
But you have to put the elements together every time you want to cast a particular spell? Wow, that's like cool and lame at the same time.
Actually, that description works for a lot of this game. While the idea of keeping things simple is an admirable one, they just took it too far.
Got an example handy?
Well, the most obvious one is combat. A monster won't attack you unless you walk right up to it. You can keep your distance from the bad guys and they'll never come after you. The idea is that you can see further than the monsters and so can see them first.
Well, that sounds helpful if your health is running low.
Yeah, it's a good concept, but it goes too far. From a few feet back, you can launch a fireball at your opponent. Now, if someone standing right in front of you torched your face and you were still alive when the flames died down, what would you do?
Cry.
Okay, but what if you were a tough goblin-like thing?
Oh, I'd probably have to rip the guy's toenails out.
There you go. These monsters just stand there. You can stay right where you launched the spell from and wait until your magic score gets high enough to launch another fireball, and nothing will bother you in the meantime.
Okay, so the spells are kind of unfair. How's the hand-to-hand combat?
Pretty good, but it's nowhere near as cool as the pre-release info made it out to be.
Oh, was this the game with the phased real-time combat?
That's the one. The idea is that you should have time to pick your attack move, but if you spend too long figuring things out, you'll get hit. But in practice, it still feels a lot like normal real-time.
Can you sneak up on your opponent?
Nope. You can't fight anything unless you look it square in the eye when you take your first blow.
Yeah, I see what you mean about being too simplistic.
Wait, I've got one more example.
Okay, but make it quick.
Save games.
Saved games?
Save games. Most games I've played have 5 or more slots for save games, and you can name them whatever you want. Some even have thumbnails of what the screen looks like at that point.
So what does the save game screen look like in Druid?
Just like this.
Hey, pretty.
Well, the whole game is pretty, but let's think function, shall we? There are only 3 slots here, and you can't name them, and there are no thumbnails.
So it's entirely up to your memory to figure out which save game is which? That's just bad planning.
But even though there are these problems, there are also some genuinely intriguing aspects of Druid.
You mean other than the pretty pictures?
Yeah. I think this would probably be a really good game for a new player to start with. Everything is point and click, it's got a really cool story, great sound effects, good voice acting. This is an impressive piece of work, even if it didn't completely ring my bells.
Well, most people probably aren't as picky as you are. There's definitely a market for simpler beginners games with all those multimedia PCs being sold these days.
Yeah, I can recommend Druid to a new player without much guilt. But if you're an experienced role player, it's probably a better idea to wait for Shadows over Riva.